Welcome to Tracing Your Family Roots. My name is Arlene Sachs. This is Sally Ann Sachs. And today we'd like to welcome Sirak Sabahat, if I said it right. He is the lead actor in Live and Become. And if you haven't seen that movie, it's an absolute must. Find out where it's playing. Right now it's playing at Fairfax's Cinema Arts Theater. You must go see.
And the Avalon, I think, still in Chevy Chase. I don't know. It was last month.
It was. I think it's the same.
DuPont Circle in Washington.
DuPont Circle?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure.
Your life really parallels that movie in many ways because you are a falasha and came.
Yes, we don't say the term of falasha.
Oh.
First of all, falasha is a term of strangers.
Ah,
okay.
so it's not a nice word.
It's not a nice word.
Okay.
It's like Morano.
Exactly. So we called ourselves Beta Israel, the house of Israel.
Yes,
Yes,
that's
I have
right.
heard
We've
that.
seen that. And would you call yourselves that while you were still living in Israel, in Ethiopia?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's names that your friends will give you. There's a name that your environment will give you. There's a name that you will call yourself.
Yes.
So
Beit Israel is
Beit Israel is the name.
means the house of Israel, and
Yeah.
that's a much better name.
Okay.
And I apologize for calling
No,
it
it's-
together.
No, but that's a good thing to know. The story tells about a young boy, and you yourself came when you were a little older than that boy. You were how old when you came to Israel?
I was 12 years old.
Why don't you tell us about the trip, starting from when you were at home until you landed in Israel? How long did it take? What happened?
You know, when we started the journey first, in order to understand why Ethiopian Jews made this kind of journey,
Yes.
Yes.
we thought that one day we need to be in the Holy Land. The Holy Land was our dream, and in 2,500 years, when we arrived to Ethiopia, and how we arrived to Ethiopia, there's many theories about the Ethiopian Jews, and one of the theories that we are agree with, we arrived to Ethiopia after the King Solomon kingdom divided into two parts, the Judah tribe and the Israeli tribe.
Right.
And one of the tribe that was called Dan tribe went through Egypt and settled down in the mountains of Gondar.
Oh, so you think it's your tradition is that you're descendants of the tribe of Dan?
Yeah, we are the descendant of tribe of Dan, even though there is many speculation that where people are saying you are the descendants of Queen Sheba and King Solomon, and we are not, of course, with all due respect. So when we arrived in that time to the mountain of Gondar, in 2,500 years we were living in Gondar itself. So the Ethiopian Jews, we were doing crafts, arts, decoration in palace of kings in Ethiopia. But years to come, our religion was a little bit problem because we were the only Ethiopian Jew in that area who kept their identity for a long time. So in time, we had the name falashas, strangers.
Sure.
How come those people in many years are keeping their religion? Because, you know, Africa is a place that each decade they're changing their religion and
Well, I
Yeah.
told Sirak before the show that in 1989, someone you know, Sophie Kaplan in Sydney, Australia, she and her late husband visited Gondar, and she wrote about it in Avotenu. This is the genealogy magazine that I edit. And she wrote that there was a lot of pressure on the Ethiopian Jews to convert to the Coptic Christian church. And in fact, she met some UN workers who were working there, they were Dutch, who commented that these people keep this old superstitious religion. And these were UN officials, not Ethiopians. So indeed, there was obviously there was this pressure to.
yeah, and there's always pressure when you are not developing in your mind, and when you have faith, people think they can play with that faith as long as they want. And Africa is the perfect place for that because people are struggling every day, and people are trying to find a solution for a better life. So each time a different religion or different person from the Western world is coming to that place as a prophet, and whether it's Christianity, whether it's Islam. But the Jewish community in Ethiopia, we were living by those rules because we didn't know otherwise. And we thought that also if you're going to convert yourself to Christianity or you're going to change your life, you're going to have a lot of problem with God. So the fear of God was the most strongest thing. There was not a lot of
Interesting.
yeah.
So then what changed? So you personally, one day your parents said, we're leaving?
No, my parents, they didn't have any decision.
What do you mean?
The decision for this kind of thing during the journey came from the Qasim. The Qasim, they are the rabbi of our community, the spiritual leaders. They are the one who kept our faith in thousands of years. They say this is the time for you to march. So the Ethiopian Jews starting to march in small groups. And we started to march in small groups in order not to attract too much attention for ourselves from different people, because still slavery exists in Africa. Children can be sold to slavery. Women can be can go to slave sex places, and so we had to go like we are going to visit one of our relatives in a different village. If you want to go from Virginia to Washington, you had to march. So, or to New York, you had to march. This was the same idea.
So then how long did the journey take you?
1 year.
1 year from Gondar to Addis Ababa?
Yeah.
But they they couldn't go straight.
No, that's right. You had to wander around.
Well, let's
Yeah,
take a look at that map. There's a map.
There's a map, if we can see this map.
Okay, the map is up there now, and you show 3 different journeys. The one from with the thinner line is one that was made back in 1862.
Yeah, the thinner line is the first journey of Ethiopian Jews started already in 1862.
And then the 3 dotted lines going sort of northwest.
Yeah.
That's the
Operation Moses.
Yes, that's the one we heard.
Yeah, that's the one that we in America heard of. The other ones we've never heard of. And then the last one going south is the one that you took.
Yes.
So basically everybody waited until the Kessin told them that it was time to go?
Yes.
I see.
But, it's something that hard to explain, because no one was afraid to lose his life, and no one was afraid that he might die in a way. It was, we know that a lot of people will not survive in this journey. We know that we might lose our brothers and sisters, but do not remember that God will not abandon his children.
Interesting.
And like Moses, and this was the same idea, as long as you were pure enough, you will be in the Holy Land. If you were not pure enough, you will not have the possibility to reach to that Holy Land.
Okay, and you reached it. Now, I wanted, just before we leave Africa, I told you that when I wrote a book about Jews everywhere in the world, I didn't include Ethiopian Jews because I couldn't find any written material about genealogy. But again, my friend Sophie came back from Ethiopia and said, but they know their generations back, they know their genealogies, 21 generations. And you were just telling us about when you want to marry, how that becomes an important...
Yeah.
Why don't you repeat that?
It's mean that if you don't have documentation, it doesn't mean that people doesn't know how to maintain the cultures for thousands of years.
Right.
First, we were living by the Torah. We didn't have anything else. Torah of, by the Torah. So for many years.
And you have a picture of a very old Torah. First of all, what is this book?
Let him finish what he was saying. You interrupted him.
Okay, go ahead. You were living by the Torah. Okay.
We were living by the Torah, and the Torah was the only thing that we had. So we, for example, we didn't celebrate many things.
We
right.
Hanukkah or Purim, for example.
Would not be known. Yes.
Yeah. So the Ethiopian Jews and the people, if you want, for example, to come in matrimony, you have to prove that there is not any closeness between you and that person that you intend to marry. At least 7 generation gap.
That is so far, because they are Ashkenazic and Sephardic even allowed uncle-niece marriages.
Right, but the Torah had rules in Leviticus or someplace about relationship, degrees of relatedness. Yeah.
It's very important, because we believe that as long as there's not any blood closeness to anyone, your blood will be much more pure in order to produce your next generation. But when you have similarity, it's going to cause a lot of problems.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
That's right. It does. We found that out.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we wanted. Now who memorized all of these generations? Does each family know their own, or you said something about just the rabbis?
The oldest in our community, the Qasim, they have the ability and the right, and they preserve also these kind of things for themselves. So they have the information. And our parents, and they remember many things. it seems to be that, the mind remember many things, and they have all the information for this.
And also, it was important to remember it. We remember things that are important also.
Yes.
What I said when, you're right, I did interrupt. We haven't really said what this book is. What is this book that you have with you?
This is a book that more or less tells about the experience of Ethiopian Jews, where they came from and what happened after they came to Israel and what was the dream.
Let's hold it up, even though nobody's going to be able to read it.
Yeah, but
it is in Hebrew.
It's Gad Ben Ezer, Gadi Ben Ezer, the writer.
And the title, can you translate it for us?
It's like light in the hole, light in the
tunnel?
In the tunnel, the light in the tunnel.
If we've got the time, I'd like you to tell us a little bit about your terrible culture shock.
I'll bet.
300 years worth, remember.
So, people assuming that once you're coming from one place, you have magics and things will be very easy and you will adjust yourself, integration and everything that you speak about. But many people forget that the Ethiopian Jews actually coming from the biblical time. And I'm saying all the time that I am a time traveler. I came from the 19th century to this moment exactly, and suddenly I discovered the TV. And I was in shock, and many of the Ethiopians...
That's in the movie.
Yes,
yes, that was a charming piece in the movie.
That they were waiting for the people to come out.
No, we were the first time that we saw TV, we were staying for 3 days to see when the people inside of the box were going to sleep.
Right.
But actually no one went to sleep. And for the children, for us, it was a miracle, but imagine for our parents, for my mother.
Oh, yes.
She actually thought when she saw...
But
what about the flying?
Oh, the airplane?
It's like a miracle that, God said, I will borrow you...
on the wings of angels.
On the wings of
eagles. Yes.
So when you see these airplanes, you think God is present with this bird to lift us to the Holy Land.
Yes.
And you don't know how to digest, because everything that you have been learning, everything that you have been preserving for thousands of years is become to be reality.
Yes.
And emotion, so...
it makes me think of a Russian family that came to Washington, and the 6-year-old boy had never seen a machine that you put a quarter in and out comes a drink.
Wow.
Oh, and he just, but you had it in so much more.
Oh, so much more.
It was just...
At least they knew what cars were and airplanes were, and you're coming from nothing.
On the whole...
The toilets...
everything.
I think he's got... Do you want to tell that story? I heard you told me.
It's a very nice story, just... how to try to... If we have the ability to imagine people in the biblical time.
Right.
So try to imagine those people in biblical time. We are in biblical time. In Abraham and Moses and Isaac and Jacob. And in those times, people didn't have anything
no
to
plumbing.
Material. Exactly. So we discovered first that you have a toilet. It was very strange for us. You're sleeping inside of the house and you're doing your own personal thing inside of the house. How come? Because in the village, you have to walk at least 5 miles to do your personal things.
Right.
Everything was available, and what else that you see the toilet, so people didn't understand what was a toilet. I remember that we were being warned by our parents not to be close to this white and beautiful thing. And people were treating the toilet that it was a private museum most of the time, and until they had explained to us. But I was asking a question, why you put the toilet in white color? It could be brown. It could be...
Could be any color.
It could be any color. So also the choice of the color was very significant for us, and we were trying to find a
symbol, real meaning.
Meaning to everything.
White is clean.
How long did it take you to learn Hebrew?
First, I came in the age of 12. I didn't know to read and to write.
Anything.
Anything.
Right.
So it took me for 6 months.
That's all. Wow.
But it is inside of you, I assume, so it comes out in a different way. And when you're praying, for example, in Giz, this was the language that it's like Yiddish, but it's part of Amharic, part of Hebrew. For example, you can hear Kedus, Kedus. It's Kadosh, Kadosh. So
some of it's familiar.
Yeah, with the prayers.
I see. That would help. You know, I was thinking you're lucky you came at 12, because if you learn a new language at no later than the age of 12, you will not have an accent. You will learn it perfectly. After 12, the brain encodes it in another part.
Well, I think it depends on the people.
They have to work extraordinarily hard to get rid of the accent, because there's been these studies of the brain that actually shows that the new language is encoded in a different
every language?
In every language.
Well,
it's biology.
I've known people that have come later that speak English without an accent, and people that have come earlier.
Really?
Well, Kissinger had a terrible accent, and he was around 14. Michelle, you really have to listen closely to hear anything.
You can hear.
But you really have to listen closely, and you have to know it.
But I want to go back. I want to go back to the Ethiopian story. So, in terms of the situation today, are there still Jews living in Ethiopia who have not been brought out?
Yes.
What can you tell us about that?
You know, there's an operation that's called Operation Promise, and in Amharic we call it Adara. Adara, if you make a promise, you need to do, and you need to apply your promise. And these are the last group of Ethiopian Jews that are in Ethiopia, and but always, you know, the politics problem and the resources are a problem to bring those people, the Ethiopians from Ethiopia, and also sometimes there is gaps that we need to fill in order for them to come and to feel acceptable and to feel part of the society, and not to be in the same position that many of the Ethiopian Jews have been through in the process of integration. So there's about 15,000 of them.
And they're not the ones that are called Mura, or there's another group.
Felesh Mura.
Yes. Is that who you're talking about, or you're talking about the people from your village?
This is what I'm talking about. I mean, it's like, this is Felesh Mura, and people saying, okay, they've been in the Christianity. And they had converted themselves. So we're going back in history. You know, the first Operation Moses and Operation Solomon, many people died because they preserved the Judaism. So all the Jews who preserved the Judaism arrived. But in many different places, many Jews were kidnapped, and, you know, they were going to different villages, and they are like the Anusim in the time of the Inquisition in Spain. And they had to force to
stay alive.
Exactly. So they kept the Judaism in secret.
I see.
Outside they had to show, because their life was threatened.
I see. And your family came a few years later than the first group came to Israel. Was it any easier for the group you came with than for the original earlier group, or do you think it was the same for all the groups?
Operation Moses, they had the worst time because they were the first one to arrive to Israel. So in the matter of understanding the shock, the culture shock,
and for the country to be ready to help. Yes.
And the country to digest first about the Ethiopian Jews, because I assume the white Jews didn't know about the Ethiopian Jews like we didn't know about the white Jews. So we thought we are the only Jews. And it was very shock for us to discover about you guys. So it was very, in the same time.
How difficult was it for you to accept our holidays, the ones that we've created in the last couple of thousand years, like Purim or Hanukkah?
You know, it just, first it was surprising that most of the Jewish people are secular people.
Yes.
They are not religious. So we felt there are some kind of sinners, because if you need to apply those kind of things. And the other thing was, when we arrived to Israel, most of the time, we were trying first to try to understand where we are, and we were trying to ask ourselves if this is the Holy Land, because there was a gap between the land that you were expecting to the land that you found. First,
yes. What were some of the things?
You thought first all of them are Jewish, and you thought all Israel was Jerusalem, and we thought that we are going directly.
That was in the movie. Yes, that came across in the movie.
Directly to Jerusalem, but it was.
They didn't settle you in Jerusalem.
No. It was very sad.
Yes, it is. That's the only place I consider to be really Israel. The other thing is, living as you did in Ethiopia and not exposed to white people, you wouldn't have had that white black discrimination. That
Yeah.
didn't exist.
Yeah.
So you come to Israel and you discover there are all these people who are white, and they also consider that that you are somehow inferior to them because you're not white. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, and that would be another one of the. You didn't have any sense that you were inferior because your skin wasn't white. So that was a big one, wasn't it?
You're coming from a place that everything is according in your creation. So I can
Absolutely.
assure you, Christian, in Africa will not see Jesus blonde hair, blue eyes. They will
Right.
see him according to their creation.
Right.
So we saw the angels and God and the Torah according to our creation. I
Sure.
assume that if we had been born in the north, we would be white, and you have been born in
Right.
in Africa, your skin will be different.
Sure.
But we didn't have the mentality of racism because you didn't understand what is racism.
Right.
Why people will suffer because of their skin of color.
Right.
What was the difference? Why there will be prejudice? What was the difference between these people and that people? Because we are the same. We have the same. If I will touch a person, if I will hit a person, the
Sure.
pain will be the same
Of
in any
course.
place. So
See, in the movie, not to give away too much of the movie, the family that adopts Shlomo is Sephardi. And of course, we've all been told about the Sephardi-Ashkenazi discrimination in Israel. I thought that there was some message in the fact that it was a Sephardi family.
I didn't realize that.
Oh.
They were French.
they were French.
Moroccan.
Moroccan French.
Yeah.
Moroccan. Oh, I didn't realize they were
Sure.
Moroccan.
Yeah,
okay. I didn't
So,
get that.
but then the bad guy is his Polish father.
Yeah.
You know, the
The
horrible
girl's
man, the girl's father. In the experience of the Ethiopian Jews in Israel, are there subtleties in the kind of discrimination? Do you find it more in some places than in others? Is there anything you can say about the discrimination generally?
You know, first, Israel is a cosmopolitan place, as we know, and there's more than 135 or more than different kind of cultures in that
Yes.
place. And it's, for me, it's quite amazing that you're trying to create this ensemble in the matter of the society, and people are accepting and understanding, and you have some kind of solidarity, but at the same time, you have also the fanatic people. But we always said, I rather to remember what is the land for me, and what is the people sometimes for me, because there's fanatic people who are on that land, and there is racism. And racism in Israel exists like it exists in the United States and Europe, but we must remember that racism is a human disease like any other disease who need treatment. And I would like always to see, you know, we fought against racism at the beginning, even though when I was a student, I was the president of Ethiopian student. And in that time, we had to say different kind of things. We had to bring a different kind of voice. We said, we don't have time to sit and to fight and to say, okay, those people did this and those people did that. We don't have this kind of opportunity. We are the generation, so we need to educate ourselves and be in the process of integration. People speak about integration, and integration is a long process that will take too many decades.
Sure.
But at the same time, those fanatic people, they cannot accept themselves. So how I will accept them to accept me? And in the same time, there's a good force, God, a good force of people that save our lives. So I always say that I rather to put the spotlight on those who are creating a better humanity, and not to put the spotlight on those who are creating a barrier between human beings.
Very nice.
Very nice.
And did you get to live in Jerusalem ever?
No,
personally?
but I was going there a lot. Many of my mother and my family, they are living, you know, Jerusalem, it's a very hard place to live.
It's so expensive.
Now, you were young enough to be able to go to school and learn and all of that. How was it for your parents?
Yes, good point.
Are they comfortable there now?
I mean, when person have his own identity? This is a question, you know. There's times when we know what exactly we want in our life. We know how we think. We know what is our desire. And those things is very hard to change when you grow up. So you're coming with that perception in the time of the machine 300 years ago to this moment exactly, and now change the perception. It is quite hard for my parents, and they will never start to understand where this word is beginning and where this word is ending. But the only thing that I can say is how happy and how glorious they feel.
Oh, do they?
That we had the chance to be in the Holy Land, because that faith and that understanding that those who are pure enough will be in the Holy Land didn't change.
That's what makes, I must say that my experience in Israel has been only that I have heard people say how wonderful the Ethiopian Jews are. And I suspect that your religious conviction shines through and impresses people.
I don't want to interrupt, but I do want to say that to visit our website, and we'll have links to your website and to the movie on that. So
good.
We don't have too much time left, but I want to get that in before we went. We've got about a minute and a half left of time.
What would you like to say that we haven't asked you?
I had a lovely time to have this conversation, and I have a question for you. What you felt when you saw this film? It gave you some kind of different understanding about the Ethiopian Jews, things that you didn't know before?
There's certainly a lot I didn't know before, and there were tears running.
Right.
It was a wonderful movie.
I had not thought that Ethiopian children were adopted, so I still wondered about that. And I did a lot of reading about this, so there was not so much that was new for me. I questioned, accepting the boy was Christian. That felt to me like
about that point, what we was trying to present there, that Israel, even though we didn't check how many Christians arriving to Israel, but Israel has the possibility and the ability to accept those who cannot help themselves, because the history teaches us that in the time of the Second War, the Jews were saved by many people, good people, in the time of the Nazi, when the Nazi were killing the Jewish. So many priests hired people in the basement, and in those times, those people, Hasidei Umot HaOlam, saved those guys. So if we can save as many people as we can, even as an Ethiopian Jews, those children who didn't commit any crime, God will judge you at the end of the day.
Well, thank you so very much for taking your time to come here.
It's absolutely my pleasure.
It's been marvelous.
Marvelous for us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.